hello. I am so excited to be here. It's afternoon for me. I don't know wherever you're joining us from. I'm so excited. It is Diplomatic Talks again. I am Jacob Fernandi Vendi. I am a staff at Coaches of Influence Foundation and equally a leader in this great foundation. This is International Day of Democracy. ACE it's an exciting day for me. I don't know about you, and I'm glad to be a co-host, rather be a host for today's event. To you is
Good afternoon, Jacob. Good morning and good evening to our various listeners and everyone connected with us from different social media sites, Coaches of Influence Foundation and Coaches of United Nations Simulation. I'm equally so excited and I can't wait to actually for us to dive into the discussions today and get to learn as young people and as the leaders of today already because we're already taking the center stage.
wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, this is again Coaches of Influence Foundation, and we are commemorating the International Day of Democracy. If you're just connected alone, hey, why not? Tell a friend to tell a friend. This is another time to be transformed, another time to be inspired, another time to be catapulted into that desired stage and that desired, phase of your life. So we have so much in store for you, and you cannot be selfish to just hear what all of the things that we've stored for you today. Why not? Tell a friend to tell a friend because I'm sure we are going to have a great time together. It is International Day of Democracy, and of course, this is under the Diplomatic Talks series. And Diplomatic Talks series, momentarily you will hear from us what the Diplomatic Talks series is all about. So it's going to be few hours of learning so much, few hours of being transformed, few hours of being inspired by the things that will be shared in this platform today. This is a platform for dialogue, a platform for change, a platform to save the minds of the young people, a platform to transform Africa and the globe at large. It is International Day of Democracy, and you can afford to just be on this call alone. So I admonish you, why not tell your friend, hey, you know what, the big thing is happening right now. Tell your friend the big thing is happening right now. And I don't just want to listen to be a part of this alone. That's the reason why I'm calling you. So tell a friend to tell a friend. It's going to be a great time with all of you. And wherever you are joining us from, this is again Coaches of Influence Foundation. And maybe you can just help us and send where you're watching us from, where you are participating from in the chat box. Utilize the chat box to share with us, because we would love to know where you are participating from. So it's a great time. And you can afford to just be on this call alone. Thank you very much. I'm hearing from Christine is saying you're welcome. Abby, thank you. You're welcome on this platform of dialogue, on this platform of transformation. Thank you all for joining us. We are so much glad to have you on this call. Ace, what do you have for our audience today?
I just want to wish them once again happy International Democracy Day. And as young people, we should really get ourselves engaged in this and not be left behind. And I know they're all excited. So I would just say tighten your seatbelts. Make sure to share with your friends. You've used your WhatsApp status a long time to post birthdays and other things, but today it's you inviting them to learn, you inviting them to engage and connect with you and your loved ones. So we'll just at this point we'll invite Simon Kangakan, because I know our listeners and everyone connected with us, they can't wait. We'll invite Honorable Simon Kangakan, who is the administrative assistant of Coaches United Nations Simulation, a youth leader and an alumni of Coaches of Influence Foundation, to just give us the opening prayer whilst we go with the program.
Thank you very much, Ace. I'm really excited to be doing this. Can we please take this moment to appreciate God for this wonderful day? Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this awesome day. We thank you for giving us life. We thank you for giving us the opportunity as an organization to touch so many lives across the globe. Father, we thank you for the resources that you have provided us with to be able to make this event a successful one. We thank you for each and every person joining across the globe, that as they interact with the speakers in this session, they will be transformed, they will be changed. The way that they come in rather, they will not go out that same way. Father, we pray that you will inspire them with more of knowledge and insight as they learn a lot from this wonderful event. We also want to take this opportunity to thank you for our esteemed speakers and moderators who have taken the time to actually honor our invitation and to be here with us. We thank you once again, and we pray that with you, we will have a successful celebration of International Day of Democracy. All this we pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen, 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 amen. Thank you so much, Honorable Simon. You know, this is what we do at Coaches of Influence Foundation. God is at the center of what we do. And that's the reason why we, always will invite him in our midst, because just being on this platform today, it's because of, the life that he has given to us. So we put God at the center of what we do. And thank you so much, Honorable Simon, for doing the opening prayer. Thank you so much. We are really excited. And once again, if you are just joining us, this is Coaches of Influence Foundation. And of course, this is the Diplomatic Talk series marking or in commemoration of the International Day of Democracy. And like I said before, if you are just joining us, please, you cannot be on this call alone. You cannot participate, be here alone. You need to contact someone, call a friend, call a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, because we have so much in store for you today. And you can afford to just, eat this whole thing, this whole meal all by yourself. So please tell a friend to tell a friend. And thank you so much. I'm seeing the comments. Thank you, Maimuna, for telling us where you are connecting from. Thank you. I've seen, so many comments coming in. Yes, keep up, just go ahead with the comments. We are so much grateful to have all of you with us this afternoon, this morning, evening, anywhere you are currently. We are so much excited to have you. Thank you so much, Adam Ajalo. I see you there. Thank you for participating. We are so much grateful. To you, Ace.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jacob, and amen to the prayers of Simon. And I will continue to just employ all those connecting with us from our different social media sites to just continue sending the comments. The discussion is not just within us, but we also invite you. You can send in your comments, you can send in your questions, and later on, you will get to engage our panelists. Probably you might have questions that you were sitting on for the longest time now. Today is the opportunity. So this is why you should invite your friends, invite your colleagues, invite your family members. Let them know that you're here, you're learning something, and they should learn with you. This is our nation, it's our generation, and it's our world. So we are supposed to take up everything and not say, okay, there are elderly people there, but we are supposed to take the center stage now. And we see young people already really doing well, and we're so happy, and we'll continue to push you all to do exploits. So we'll now have the overview of us, the host, that is Jacob and myself, of this important program that we are hosting today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, again, I think we are so grateful for the opportunity given to us. And thank you to the Executive Board of Coaches of Influence Foundation, all of the board members, all of the leaders, all of the people that we are working with. Thank you. And most especially to the leadership for just giving us this opportunity to learn, because every interaction, every opportunity given to us, we take it as a journey to learn something, as a journey to make all of the mistakes. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for always giving us the opportunity to share and to really develop our skills. Thank you to, again, Dr. Margaret, thank you. Dr. Stan, thank you. Kisa, thank you. To all of the leaders, we are so much grateful for this great opportunity. And mind you, maybe you are on this call and wondering, what are they talking about? They are just saying International Day of Democracy. And sometimes we cannot just assume that people know all of these things. And that's the reason why we just want to give you a kind of a grasp, a synopsis of what International Day of Democracy is all about, right? So you can kind of be informed somehow, and to be able to further fasten your seatbelt better in order to be able to receive all of that we've stored for you in today's event. So I am going to just go ahead to just tell you briefly that International Day of Democracy, of course, is a high-profile event that is commemorated annually, and it is usually commemorated on September 15th. And some of you might be like, oh, but today it's not September. Yes, it's not September, but there's nothing wrong in commemorating this great day, right? There's nothing wrong in commemorating it on this day. Why? Because again, like I said in the introduction, this is Diplomatic Talk Series. So Diplomatic Talk Series, we will talk about it later, but we are commemorating the International Day under the Diplomatic Talk Series, which my co-host will share, will give us an overview later. But aside from that, this is a high-profile event that is commemorated, right, annually, and usually on September 15th. And one of the purposes of this International Day of Democracy is the promotion of basically promotion and upholding of democratic principles, right? And sometimes you may wonder, what are these democratic principles that we are talking about? For instance, human rights, respect for human rights. It's one principle of democracy, right? The right to vote, right? These are all principles of democracy. So this event is solely dedicated to promoting and upholding these principles. And of course, all over the world, member states are invited, are encouraged to commemorate this day. And usually it is commemorated in different forms. But for us today, we decided to celebrate it in this form, which is having this dialogue with our wonderful and our esteemed panelists that will be speaking to us later. So if you are just here, thank you. It is not by mistake. Thank you. We know that the reason why you are here, it's because maybe someone invited you. Man, that person will not be put to shame, because by the time you leave this place, you'll be like, oh man, I have missed a lot. Why didn't you tell me about the last International Day of Democracy, right? Because you'll then be saying, oh man. Somehow you'll be regretting that you missed all of the other events that we organized. So thank you very much once again. If you're just joining us, again, this is International Day of Democracy, and it is brought to you by Coaches of Influence Foundation under its flagship program, which is Coaches United Nations Simulation. So you will hear from my co-host momentarily as we kind of take you through a journey of why we are here today.
Yes, thank you so much, Jacob. As you mentioned earlier on, International Day of Democracy is actually one of the series of the Diplomatic Talk series. So I'm sure that most of individuals connecting will be wondering. So Coaches of United Nations Simulation is excited to launch a new initiative, which is the Diplomatic Talk Series podcast. And this International Day of Democracy is part of the series that is actually being brought to you. So the podcast actually aims to create a platform for thought-provoking and informative conversations on global issues. There's so many issues around the world, and sometimes you really struggle to find platforms where these have been discussed. And I believe as young people growing up, taking up positions, probably in the corporate world, in politics, or wherever you find yourself, in any department you find yourself, you're supposed to be informed, you're supposed to be engaged, you're supposed to be there, hand on deck, getting yourself engaged, and not say, okay, I am not into politics, I am not into this, I am not into that, let me not get myself engaged. But the Coaches of United Nations Simulation is excited to bring this to you, and the goal is to bring together experts, policymakers, and academics. It's not just limited to a particular set of individuals, but this is diverse, to discuss topics ranging from international relations to global health, environmental sustainability, and human rights. So this affects every one of us connected on this platform today in one way or the other. So by engaging in candid conversations, we hope that we'll be able to educate our listeners and foster a better understanding of the complexities of the world we actually live in. So we aim to invite experts and thought leaders from various fields to join us for our podcast episodes. This is just one of it. So I would just encourage you to continue connecting with us, because you wouldn't want to miss the other series that will be brought to you. Today is International Day of Democracy. Continue to connect, continue to follow us on our social media sites so that you will get notifications on the different series that will be brought to you. I'm sure after today, you will be so excited that you will be asking us, when are we having the other series? So Jacob, I will just allow you. Hence, Coaches of United Nations Simulation is a flagship program of Coaches of Influence Foundation, to just give us a short overview of Coaches of Influence Foundation.
Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ace. And, one thing I love, you said something around diversity when you were basically talking about the Diplomatic Talk series. This is quite important for us. Diversity and inclusivity is a priority for us, because we want people to be represented. We want to ensure that the voices of people, especially young people from different regions, from different backgrounds and perspectives, are basically heard. And that's the reason why when it comes to Diplomatic Talk series, man, we scout people from everywhere to just ensure that, our audience are, receive the right message. Our audience are inspired and receive the right information. So if you are here, it's not by mistake. If you are here, one thing I can promise you, because in each and every interaction with us, that is Coaches of Influence Foundation, transformation is evident. So if you are here, mind you, by the time you leave, you'll be looking for a midwife to help you deliver that baby, because what you will receive today will be so much, right? That I can assure you. So again, if you are just connecting with connecting to this platform, everywhere you are, anywhere you are, I tell you this: tell a friend to tell a friend, because you cannot be on this call alone. Now, Coaches of Influence Foundation, because you've had me share, say a lot about coaches. And some of you may be like, what coaches are they talking about? Is it the coach at the field? But somehow, some way, I'm so excited to introduce Coaches of Influence Foundation to you, in case you are just hearing this name, this organization for the first time. It is Coaches of Influence Foundation. And I know sometimes when we hear people, they will just abbreviate it and just say COIF. And anytime they say COIF, I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? It's not COIF. It is COIF. So which is Coaches of Influence Foundation. So this is an organization that focuses on developing the core principles of human value, which is fulfilling or living a fulfilled life. And this living a fulfilled life is through positive influence, right? Not just any kind of influence, but positive influence, right? And this is quite important, because again, when you look at us as a foundation, we are branded, right, as an organization that exists to influence identity. Once we interact with you, one thing you can see, one thing you can notice and observe is identity, influencing identity. We talk, in other words, if you have to look at us, everything you see is influence. Everything is you see influence. I don't know about you, but I'm so excited where I am right now, because, as I'm speaking, I'm thinking about, the people that we have on set for you today, right? The young men and women that we have for you today. So anywhere you are, watching us from, man, call that sister, call that brother, call that uncle, call that aunt, call that grandma, call that granddad and say, hey, something is happening. And when they ask you, where is it happening? Just tell them it is happening on the Coaches of Influence Foundation social media platforms, and they can't afford to miss this. So this is Coaches of Influence Foundation in a nutshell. But again, to learn and to know more about this foundation and what it does, I encourage you to visit our website. It is just COI Foundation, right, .org. Or you can visit our cons website, which is mycons.org. Once you get on this website, you will see a lot of information that will probably, not even probably, but that will answer all of the questions and concerns that you have. So please, our website again, you will see it. The media team will help us. You will see it in the banner down there. It is just coifoundation.org, and the cons website is mycons.org. So again, this is Diplomatic Talks in commemoration of the International Day of Democracy. Ace to you.
Yes, Jacob, you actually highlighted something very important, that the speakers we already have on board are loaded. And I am so excited. I can't actually wait, knowing that we actually have even speakers that were part of the Coaches of Influence Foundation mentorship program. And it's so exciting to get to hear them today, to speak to us on the different things that we'll be discussing today. So the International Day of Democracy, as we said earlier on, it's part of the Diplomatic Talks series, which is brought to you by Coaches of United Nations Simulation, a flagship program of Coaches of Influence Foundation. So this Coaches of United Nations Simulation, it's very dynamic. And you will be so excited at some of the programs and some of the events that they actually put in place. So Coaches of United Nations Simulation is a program, a cornerstone of the Coaches of Influence Foundation's mission to empower young people, and it goes beyond classrooms by transforming them into ministerial assemblies where young minds tackle real-world issues within the framework of the United Nations. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the United Nations. Probably, I would say as a young person growing up, I only saw the United Nations meetings on TV, and I was like, I don't think I can ever get here, or I don't think I can ever join a simulation like this. But I am excited to share to you that you can actually be part of a United Nations simulation. You don't even have to go outside of Gambia, right here in the Gambia. And this is one of the most exciting programs of Coaches of United Nations Simulation. The Diplomatic Talk series is exciting, but the other programs that they have, the Model United Nations Simulation, which is actually coming up. And at the tail end of the program, we'll get to speak to you guys about that. And the UN and Africa Day commemoration, and Coaches of United Nations Simulation celebrate these important days through educational activities, fostering awareness of global challenges and Africa's unique role. And we also have exchange programs whereby we connect with peers from around the world, fostering intercultural understanding and building long-lasting friendships. So I'm sure you really want to know more. We have limited time here and we really want to get right into the discussion. So go to our social media sites on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm sure all of you are on these social media platforms. So follow us, get to learn, go to the website, get to interact with us, connect with us. If you have any questions, you can just ask. And as well, you will get notified of the different programs that will be coming up. And they are so exciting. They're so educational, and everyone can involved. Wherever you are as a young person, middle age, you are all invited. Connect with us on our social media sites, share with your friends. And don't forget, as you are here in the program, make sure to send in your comments. I'm sure a lot of you have comments, you have questions. Connect with us. Don't just allow the discussions to go on, but send in your comments, send in your questions. And we're so excited and so happy to have you all here. Fatou Jau, thank you so much. We're equally wonderful to actually have you here with us. Amikoli, we're so thankful that you're here connecting with us from our different social media sites. Thank you so much for connecting with us. And this is just a tip of the iceberg. I can't actually wait for us to get into the discussions. Over to you, Jacob.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ace, I love your energy. And like Doctor will always say, I want to be like you when I grow up. Thank you so much. This is beautiful. And now we want to go ahead with the opening remarks. And this is going to be done by none other but our most honorable Seinabu Jata. So Seinabu is a youth leader at Coaches of Influence Foundation, and also a 3.0 mentee at Coaches of Influence Foundation. So Seinabu has something to share with us today. And I just want you to cheer her up. Those watching us online, utilize the comment section and just share our dishonorable, member. All right, Seinabu, to you.
Good afternoon.
There she is. Isn't she
I'm
looking
already
good?
amazed. Good afternoon.
All right, go ahead, go ahead. Thank you so much. We are glad to
Thank
have you,
you so much,
Seinabu.
Honorable Jacob. And thank you so much, Ace Abigail, for hosting. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're calling from. I am Seina Bujata, a Consecretariat member, and also I'm the Under-Secretary General for Content and Research under Coaches United Nations Simulation. So I'll be giving the opening remarks. I hope you are all excited to be here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Coaches of Influence Foundation Board of Directors, youth leaders, mentees, and champions of democracy. It is my privilege to welcome you to this diplomatic talk series, marking the International Day of Democracy. As we gather today, country affirms its commitment to recognizing the significance of this day, celebrating the pivotal role democracy plays in shaping the future of our nations, with a particular emphasis on the critical involvement of youth and women. Regrettably, the Undersecretary General for Political Affairs, SG Emeritus, is unable to join us today due to unforeseen circumstances, but then I am honored to represent him and convey his unwavering support for this event and its central theme, the road to transformation governance for, to, and by the youth. This theme lies at the very heart of democracy, underscoring the need to move beyond mere youth inclusion to recognizing young people as essential agents of change. Democracy must not only serve the youth, but empower them to take leadership roles, drive innovation, and shape policies that govern their present and future. Governance must be participatory, reflecting the aspirations, ideas, and innovative solutions of young people to address the challenges of our time. So we stand at a critical juncture in history where youth and women across Africa and the world are demanding more token representation. They are seeking a meaningful role as co-creators of the democratic systems that govern their lives. So as a consecretariat, we are committed to ensuring that their participation is not only symbolic, but also impactful and sustainable. So I invite you all to participate actively in today's discussions, sharing your insights and expertise, and drawing inspirations from one another as we embark on this transformative journey. So, a journey that belongs to all of us, particularly the youth. Thank you all for your attention, and let us move forward together, united in our pursuit of a more inclusive and empowering democratic future. Thank you all. Back to you, Honorable Jacob and Ace Abigail.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you
Thank
for
you so
that
much, Honorable Seinabu.
profound remark. That was good. That was good. And for me, what stood out in that message is the involvement of youth and women. You know, considering all of the data around young people, I think each and every wise government should put the youth and women in the forefront. Imagine going to the market around 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Who are those you will see there? about 95% of them, will possibly be women. So which means that once a nation involves its youth and women, there is no going back. That country, that nation will progress. So it is a call for leaders, for governments to involve young people and women in its quest to transform, their nations. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was profound. To you, Ace, what are your thoughts?
Jacob, I am actually an advocate of involving women and children a lot, or young people. And I'm so excited that Seinabu really highlighted that part. And I'm sure the gentleman right here will say, okay, why did Seinabu just say the women and the youth? But I would say that the women are actually, they have husbands. They have children, they have male children. So involving them is involving everyone around them. No one is left behind, and everyone will be inclusive, and everyone will have a quota of the national cake. So don't feel that you are left behind when we say women and just the youth. As a youth, the youth are not just female, they're male and female. And the women, they're married, they have sons, and they have husbands and all that. So we are all inclusive. And I'm excited that Seinabu is continuing to just encourage you all to make sure to learn. Don't just connect here and say, okay, I'm just connecting to just listen what they have to say, but connect with us. Make sure to take up key points. I don't know if you have your notepads around you. I actually do, to take up notes, not just for today, but later on. These are notes you can go and reflect on. These are things that you can actually take back to your colleagues at school and just discuss with them, probably those that we are not able to connect. And you don't know how far this will actually go in shaping the minds of young people that are already taking center stage of leadership right here in the Gambia and the world at large.
Thank you so much, Ace, on that. Now we would just want to move on. We have something special for you. That is a message done by the Coaches of Influence Foundation Youth Mentees. Of course, we have an alumni member in their midst. So the technical team are just going to get us that video. Watch this.
Here comes a call towards the pathway to democracy, where Demos says the people and Kratos says the rule, that is ruled by the ruler with passion, vision, and goal to build a legacy.
See, we live in the democracy of the indirect kind, where rulers depend on imported solutions to solve the local problems of the people, without true regards of the opinion of the youths.
Democracy for the people should be for by the people. The government exists of these people. The rule must support the system of voting. In the name of the Constitution, the law must strictly adhere.
Hey leaders, I have a couple of questions to ask you. In your democratic governance, are the demos included, involved, and their voices heard? Listen to me. If the power of your people is still restricted, then you are running a democracy.
Here comes the pathway to democracy. It should be about the people, for the people, by the people, and it will never be experienced through compromises and fear.
But through competent, committed, and passionate leadership with a vision to build a legacy, then only then will democratic leadership be about the people, for the people, and to the people.
International Day of Democracy has occurred as the platform for inspiration dialogue, rooted in the foundation and fabric of our nations, suited for the modern generation.
We believe in the soil of our nation are buried virtues of freedom and empowerment as seed sown for development.
The seed is the youth, guarded with the strength to uplift the nation to higher heights, locking arms together to find solutions as ascribed to the constitutions.
Speaking of the constitutions, they are designed for inclusion, to serve as an institution, influencing the youth through leadership orientation, raising them up for democratic excellence.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I think this is good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our youth leaders, for basically putting this message across. I don't know, Ace, what are your thoughts?
There was actually a particular part that really struck me. That is the part where the poetry mentioned, the poetry, those delivering the poetry mentioned that imported solution to solve local problems. Jacob, we can see ourselves right in that particular statement, because you can't actually import solutions to solve local problems when you already have local solutions here. But the question is, are the local solutions being actually breeded properly to make sure that at the end of the day, they will be able to solve the problems that we have here? So I am so excited, and I cannot just wait for us to dive into this as well, and making sure that also the demos are included and heard as well. That is also an important part. That is the people, because earlier on they mentioned that demo is actually the people and Krasi is the rule. But are the people really involved? Are they heard? Are their thoughts and the different opinions, are they being given that particular importance that they're supposed to be given? Or is it just them saying something probably at their corners or probably in their bedrooms and just keep quiet there? But when they go outside at the round tables, you can't say anything. You just keep quiet. But I'm happy that we are having this discussion right on this platform, and we are young people already taking the center stage. And I'm happy that we are getting educated about this very early, and not when we have probably assumed positions already fully. But now that we're equipping ourselves, it's good that we're learning about this and we're getting exposed to some of the ways we should tackle and handle situations that are around and affecting us as well.
Thank you so much, Ace, on that. And that is so good to hear. I think for me, one of the lines that struck me is when one of the poets said, the government exists for the people. And this is very true. And sometimes I wonder how, some people think when a government does something for them, or, probably brings certain development in their constituency or in their ward, they are like, wow, wow, wow. And listen, these are things that are expected of governments because they exist for the people. You voted them in power for that. Them the nation. So I think as leaders, as young people, we should not see these things like they will say. It's not Saragilial. It is something that should happen because that is what you elected them for, right? So the governments, they exist for the.
Absolutely. The government actually exists for the people. And I see you all sending your comments. If you're just joining us, this is the celebration of International Democracy Day, brought to you by Coaches United Nations Simulation right here. Invite your friends, invite your neighbors, invite your colleagues. Let them connect with us. Make sure you send in your comments. Don't just be here, but send in your comments, send in your questions. Jacob, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You see, there are a lot of issues to address as we talk about government for the people. So these are some of the issues, electrical issues and internet issues that governments are supposed to fix, right? This will not be a Sarangiriala thing. It will not be something we negotiate. These are things that we elected them for. And of course, one of the things that one of the poet also said, it's about competent leadership. Competence, that is key, because John Maxwell says that everything rises and falls with leadership, right? So which means that if a country is going backward, you need to check. If a country is progressing, you need to check its leadership. So this is a call And sometimes when we talk about leadership, we are not just pointing our fingers to those, to the president or to those, to the vice or whatsoever, to the senate. No. We are pointing those fingers to ourselves because we are the ones growing up to take a hold of those roles, of those positions. And thus, when we are saying some of these things, I am looking at myself. If I were there, what will be my responsibility? How will I act? So this is a call to each and every young person on this call. Hey, you cannot afford to just be you. Life will not just be about you. You know, you have a life to live for others. And thus, this is something that we need to put at the back of our minds, that at all times we should, strive to build ourselves for what lies ahead. Because today, if you don't build yourself and you happen to occupy those positions, man, you will mess up like everyone, in the past or so. And like someone will say, we cannot repeat the mistakes of our fathers. If our fathers failed in a certain way, we cannot afford to, also fail in that same thing. It will basically, show us or tell us that we are not.
For the longest time now, we've actually always, as Jacob said earlier on, it's all about probably me, myself, and I. But today we are imploring you, where we're actually calling on to you as a young person.
We're going to move on to the next item we have for you. And this is going to be basically a presentation that we have. And this presentation is a video presentation that will be played for this particular event. All right, Ace, you ride on whilst we wait for the technical team.
Okay, I just want to buttress on one of the things.
In every generation, there is a moment when the baton of leadership is passed, when the future is no longer a distant dream but a reality in the helm of time. That time is right now. On this International Day of Democracy, we walk the road to transformation, governance for, to, and by the youth. This road is not a new path. It has been treaded upon generations before by our leaders who fought for civil rights. Yes, those who demanded equality and believed that democracy is not just a system of governance but the right way to go. Today, the descendants of those great legends are making a clarion call to revisit a forgotten path. That path that once welcomed young people to take on leadership in our nations. These descendants do not see the world in its current but future state. A world where governance includes the youth addressing their needs, hunger, and challenges. A world where policies are implemented not to protect crowns and seats but to create equality in opportunities for leadership and governance. This generation that raising our voice understand that governance for the youth means more than just making decisions on our behalf. It also means recognizing our rights to be involved in the process, to be active participants in shaping the future that we'll inherit. But it's not enough for governance to be for the youth. It must also be to the youth, responsive, transparent, and inclusive. This means a governance that speaks our language, listens to us, and addresses our concerns. Governance to the youth is not just about engaging us in dialogue, but about turning the promises made to us into realities. It's about making us feel that our voices matter, that our ideas are not just heard, but valued, and that our contributions can truly make a difference. And finally, governance must be by the youth, for it is in our hands that the future of democracy truly lies. Around the world, young people are already stepping up, leading movements, advocating for change, and redefining governance. We are proving that age is not a barrier to leadership, but a strength that brings fresh perspectives and innovative solutions. When governance is by the youth, it is dynamic, it is forward-thinking, and it is resilient. We may be young, but don't get it twisted. We bring with us boldness, a resilience to challenge the status quo, to disrupt the patterns that no longer serve us, and to build something new. On this International Day of Democracy, let us not just celebrate the principles of democracy, but also commit to walking the talk. Let us recognize that the road to transformation is not a journey that can be delayed or postponed. It is one that we must walk together. Now, governance for the youth. Governance to the youth. Governance by the youth. This is not just the path to a better democracy, it is the path to a better world. The road to transformation is long, but with the young leading the way, there is no limit to how far we can go.
That was actually so touching, I must say. And there are a lot of nuggets that you can actually get from that. Jacob, I will just allow you to go on with the nuggets you were able to pick up from that video presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I think this is a representation of us, the young people, and all of the things that Honorable Sainabu has highlighted in that video is just profound. And I think as young people, we cannot afford to just settle for the less. And I love the St. Peter's anthem, and they will go like this: we cannot settle for what is not the best. If our country must do its part to save a brighter future, problems must be faced and decisions must be made. So we as young people must be able to make certain decisions about our lives, certain decisions about our future, because it matters, right? It matters. So again, this is a profound message, and you can go and watch this message over and over. It is so inspiring. Thank you so much, Honorable, for putting this message with the entire CONS team and committee. We are so grateful to you, Ers.
Yes, I will just wrap up by just saying the government is not just for the youth. It's not just to the youths, but by the youths. So continue to be active as a young person. Make sure that your voices are heard. Don't just sit in your palace and just have discussions. But if you have the opportunity on different platforms, engage, be active. Don't just keep quiet. Don't just stay there. You people are bright. We are bright young people. We are bold. We have solutions. You might actually think that, okay, what I'm saying might not make sense, but just speak out, and the sense will actually pick from whatever you've uttered. So speak as a young person. Don't just sit in your corner and just criticize and just say things, but bring solutions to the table. Be active. It's not just government for the youth, government to the youth, but it's by the youth as well.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if you are just joining us, this is Coaches of Influence Foundation. This is Diplomatic Talk series in commemoration of the International Day of Democracy. So if you're just joining us, thank you. You are in the right place. And again, tell a friend to tell a friend, because this flight is about to take off. We've not even, started, right? Because we have so much in store for you. We have our amazing panelists who will just blow up your mind, who will just, put you in a position that you'll be like, hey, I think I need to make this decision now, right? Because they will begin to trigger things in your head. They will begin to trigger certain thoughts in you that will make you to be uncomfortable, because most people are in their comfort zone. And these speakers that we have for you today with our exceptional moderators are here to just push you from your comfort zone. And like my mentor will say, comfort zone is a dead zone, and you can't afford to be in that dead zone, right? Because you are alive, because you are a young person, and there's so much vibrancy, there's so much passion in you, and you can't afford to continue to live in that dead zone. So these people that we have for you today, they are here to catapult you from the dead zone to a life zone. So get yourself ready because we are about to take off. And again, tell a friend to tell a friend, this is International Day of Democracy. To you, X.
Jacob, you know, we've actually been serving our guest, the starter. We're getting to the main meal, actually. So I just want them to actually adjust themselves. Wherever you are seated, make sure to adjust yourself, sit properly. If you had a friend that got up, call them to come and sit back because we are getting to the main meal. And this is the most important part of our event today. And I am so excited and so happy because the moderators, these are top-notch moderators. The speakers are, you cannot wait. So make sure to take notes, send in your comments, send in the emojis, send them a thumbs up right there, send your comments. Don't just sit there and just listen. Be excited and give them the excitement energy. Don't just sit there, but make them feel that they're actually getting to you. So make sure you listen, make sure you share the social media links to your friends. Let them connect. If they were not connected earlier on, this is the time for them to connect and get the nuggets. So we'll get the technical team to get us the video of the moderators.
With so much excitement, I present to you our amazing moderator. Therese Gomez is a dynamic and multifaceted professional currently in her final semester of law school at the University of the Gambia, where she deepens her expertise in the legal field. As the Gambia country chair for G Global Mission under the Business Networking Wing, she is instrumental in driving initiatives that foster economic growth and empowerment, connecting leaders and visionaries to create a robust network of opportunities across the region. Therese is also the visionary founder and CEO of Elite Tech Solutions Gambia Limited, a trailblazing company that specializes in the sales of customized laptops and cutting-edge electronic gadgets. Her leadership at Elite Tech Solutions has not only set new standards for technological innovation in the market, but has also positioned the company as a key player in the digital transformation landscape. Therese's passion for bridging the worlds of technology, wellness, and law is evident in her diverse endeavors, where she is committed to making a lasting impact and inspiring those around her. Let's all make welcome our moderator. With so much excitement, I present to you our amazing moderator. Aliou Saho is a political science degree holder from the University of the Gambia, driven by a strong ambition for youth leadership, professional growth, and advocacy. Throughout his academic journey, Mr. Saho has engaged in various activities at the University of the Gambia, honing his leadership skills through multiple roles, which included but not limited to serving as Vice President of the University of the Gambia Debate Association, Technical and Logistics Minister for the same association, and Vice Chairperson of the Vice Chancellor's National Debate Championship. Beyond his university involvement, Aliou works with civil society organizations advocating for various human rights. He currently serves as the General Secretary of the Girls Empowerment Initiative, an organization committed to promoting education for young girls. He has also held positions as an administrative intern at the National Assembly of the Gambia and chairperson of the Katu Development Plan Career Advisory Program, among other notable roles. Aliou is an alumnus of Coaches of Influence Foundation, where he completed his 3 years of mentorship, which greatly enhanced his personal, professional, and leadership growth as a youth leader. He served in a leadership role as lead public relations officer and responsible leader. Let's all make welcome our moderator. With so much joy, I present to you our esteemed panelist. Andrew Mendy is a burgeoning scholar of political science, fascinated by global political trends, challenges, and the dynamics of politics and international society and their intersection with domestic politics. He is interested in advocating issues that borders on democracy, human rights, and governance in the Gambia. He also worked as a graduate assistant lecturer in the Department of Political Science at the University of the Gambia. Before his transition to academia, Andrew worked with several civil society organizations in the Gambia on a plethora of issues ranging from youth participation in politics, governance, human rights, transitional justice, and election observation. His recent work in one of the leading civil society organizations in the Gambia participates where working on anti-corruption, fiscal transparency, and elections observations has optimized his passion for civil society work coupled with academia. Currently, Andrew is pursuing a master's degree in political science and government at Eastern Illinois University, Charleston, Illinois, USA, where he also serves as a graduate teaching assistant. Let's all make welcome our panelists. With so much joy, I present to you our esteemed panelists. Ambassador Dr. Fatou Madigue is a distinguished investment advisor, business consultant, and co-founder of the Global Excellence Summit and Awards JESSA. With a wealth of experience in craving successful investment strategies, she has made a significant impact on Africa's emerging markets. Her dedication to fostering economic growth and development is rooted in her profound appreciation for Africa's rich cultural heritage and its dynamic economic landscape. As a proactive advocate for Pan-African integration, Dr. Gay has been deeply involved in initiatives aimed at unlocking opportunities and addressing the challenges faced by businesses and investors across Africa. Her recent appointment as a diplomatic ambassador by the African Union for the Agenda 2063 Ambassadorial Assembly and the Renewed Hope Agenda underscores her extensive influence across Africa, the Middle East, Turkey, and the United States. She was recently appointed as the country director for Guinea-Bissau and Senegal by the US-Africa Trade Commission. Dr. Gay continues to extend her influence in international trade relations. Additionally, her strategic partnership with the Institute of Certified Business Consultants exemplifies her commitment to enhancing business practices and professional development globally. Let's all make welcome our panelists. With so much joy, I present to you our esteemed panelist. Muhammad Lamin Deba is a recent graduate of the Geneva Graduate Institute, Switzerland, with a Master of International and Development Studies. He is a champion of social change and an advocate of democracy, good governance, and social justice. He applies his knowledge and experience to advising on policy and development initiatives. His main interests are state building, local governance, civil society, and international migration. In April 2015, he became the program manager and co-founder of the Legacy Gambia, a youth-focused NGO that aimed at stemming the mass exodus of young people by developing their capacities and enhancing their entrepreneurship skills to enable them to pursue their independent careers. As the organization's program manager, he pioneered and facilitated several national programs, including guidance and counseling schemes. Through his steadfastness, the organization molded the careers of approximately 3,000 young Gambians through its teacher-student counseling program at Gambia College. He also served as a board member of the Geneva Consulting Network and a UNDP student ambassador in Geneva, Switzerland. Recently, Muhammad completed his traineeship at the Permanent Mission of the Gambia to the United Nations in New York, where he supported the mission's bilateral effort. Let's all make welcome our panelists.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of the introduction. Thank you. I'm seeing these great gents and ladies on the platform. Thank you so much. This is again International Day of Democracy. Honorable Andrew, thank you, who is an alumni member. We're excited to have you on this call. Thank you so much. And now to you, our honorable moderators, Teresa and Aliu, I hand over everything to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another diplomatic show of the Coaches of Influence Foundation. I'll be your moderator, as rightly introduced today, alongside Ms. Teres. I would like for her to also confirm if she's in the call before we kickstart with the questions that we have for the panelists.
Thank you very much, Aliu and Jacob, for this event. Thank you, Coaches of Influence, for having us here today. Yes, I am right here with you guys. I am Teres, as already been introduced, and it's an honor.
Thank you very, very much. So without wasting much time, let's just get into the event. On today's Diplomatic Talk series, we are commemorating the International Day for Democracy, And we are going to be looking at the pathway to democracy, governance for, to, and by the youth. And I would like to open the floor to the panelists that we have, starting with Mr. Diba. And by the way, congratulations on your graduation. I would like to open the floor by starting with you on what does it really mean for us when we want to discuss the pathway to democracy, and especially when we talk about governance for, to, and by the youth? I'm sorry, Mr. Diba. If you're speaking, I cannot hear you. I don't know if the problem is only on my side. It looks like we have lost Mr. Diba. So I would just move on to Mr. Andrew Mendy. And to you too, congratulations on your new position at your new university. So to just the same question, what does it mean when we want to discuss the pathway to democracy, especially when we want to talk about governance for, to, and by the youth?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aliu, and also Teres Gomez for your wonderful moderation. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. And also profound thanks to Coaches of Influence Foundation and also Cons for the profound invitation to speak on this very monumental day, a very important day in our history, in modern society. It's a very important day today. We are commemorating the International Day of Democracy, which I just want to give a context before answering the question, which was sort of instituted by the United Nations to celebrate world governments around the world, to celebrate the agency of young people as drivers of democracy in our modern world. It's such a very important day to celebrate democracy, to recognize the important role of governments in our society, but also to recognize the role of young people in our society and every stakeholder within the society who is making democracy work. So it's a very monumental day and it's important. So the roadmap for democracy, it's to me, I think it has to do with the inclusion of young people, because democracy cannot work without the voices and agencies of young people. The pathway to democracy and the pathway to a more consolidated democracy is when we have young people included in the decision-making table. If you look at the history of democracy, tracing back its roots from in ancient Greece and Athens at that time, it was very important for people to construct democracy whereby the voices of young people are heard, and not just the young people, but also everyone within society. So I think, to me, the pathway to democracy is making sure that the young people are included in governance processes. The young people's agencies are recognized and their voices are amplified. In order for us to have a well-consolidated democracy, I think the roadmap is to have young people included in modern society and also within democratic structures in society. So, Aliu, so that's my perspective about it.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Mendy. Over to you, Mr. Diba. The question is, what does it mean for us when we are discussing the pathway to democracy and putting a much bigger focus on governance for, by, and to the youth? No, I can read your lips. We cannot hear you. I can actually read that you're saying, can you hear me? But we can't hear you. Looks like Mr. Diba is having problems with connecting with us. So without wasting much time, just to continue with the engagements, I would like to allow my co-moderator, my co-host, to ask questions if
Thank you very
she
much,
has any.
Aliu. Thank you, Aliu. And indeed, Mr. Andrew
Sure.
Mendy, it's very important, like you said, for government to make sure that young people are part of governance. That was a very brilliant take home that we can always consider. And the other question that I have for you is that what is the difference between governance and democracy? I would like to hear your thoughts on that, Mr. Mende.
Thank you. I think there's no much difference between governance and democracy, because governance is more of institutions, it's more of processes, it's more of policies and laws within society, right? So democracy is more of a practice. It's like a practice where democracy makes governance work in our society, and governance also makes they sort of intersect and intertwine, because we cannot have governance without democracy, and we can also have democracy without governance. So these two concepts sort of work together for the advancement of society, and it's important for if we want a democracy, we need laws in place, right? We need institutions in place, we need policies in place, and this is all part of the broader framework of governance. So democracy and governance work together. Democracy is more of giving more power to the people. The government officials, the leaders, the presidents derive legitimacy and derive their power from the people. The people elected them, and they govern on our behalf. So it's more or less like we elect them into office and they govern on our behalf. We sort of give them the right to govern, and they derive legitimacy from the people. So government officials or leaders cannot govern when there is no democracy, when there is no people or citizens to elect them into office, and all of that. So it's very important to these two concepts are very important, because one cannot work in the absence of another. Because we need laws in our society, we need policies in our society, we need regulations in our society. And before we do that, we have to make sure that we have people that are making those institutions work. So they are really concepts that are actually intertwined and interconnected.
Thank you, Mr. Mendy. Indeed, we need the two together. That is law and policies. Without that, we cannot have a true democratic state. Thank you. That was a beautiful submission. Over to the next question. Based on today's theme, how would you explain governance to, for, and by the youth? How do they complement each other in terms of democracy?
Okay, just like the basic definition of democracy given by Abraham Lincoln, he said, democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people. I think, to me, based on my understanding, is the same question. Is the same as the question that you are sort of asking right now. So governance by the people means that people drive that governance, right? The young people drive that governance. Without young people, governance cannot actually be in place, right? And governance for the people means that it's supposed to serve the interests of the people, supposed to serve the interests of the young people in society. And governance for the people is supposed to serve the interests of the people, and governance by the people is when people participate fully in the governance process. Because if you look at the core tenets of democracy, governance is part of it, inclusive governance is part of it, and inclusive participation. So governance cannot sort of thrive in the absence of people, also in the absence of young people. Governance for the people means that people must participate, and governance must deliver to the expectations of society and the people. Governance by the people is that people are involved in it, in its participation, to make sure that it flourishes in society. So that's my basic understanding of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mendy. Clear put. I would now like Aliu to take charge. Mr. Aliu, are you with us?
Sure, I am. Mr. Mendy, So to just continue from where we stopped, we're talking about the pathway to democracy and to talk about governance for, to, and by the youth. And that means it is very, very important for young people to take the center stage in governance processes. My question is, what role, sorry, my question is, what are some of the significant challenges, or what are some of the major challenges that are preventing young people from actively participating in governance processes, looking at the Gambia as an example? You're muted.
Okay. Sorry about that. I think that's a very important question. If you look at politics in African society, I think young people are facing very compounding challenges when they want to participate in governance processes. And one of the excuses that people in position give is that young people are inexperienced, right? Young people are young; they cannot command positions of governance. And I think this is one of the discouragement. This is one of the things that sort of discourage and serves as a barrier to young people's participation in politics. And also the lack of the level playing field on the ground. Young people, institutions are not created. If laws are not created to sort of regulate and sort of promote and empower young people to participate, I think that too sort of can serve as an impediment for young people to participate fully in governance. When young people are not giving the space, when young people are not giving the platform to speak up their minds, and that too could serve as a hindrance to young people. And we've seen that in contemporary modern politics within the African society. Young people are not allowed to speak. Young people are not sort of provided with a platform to participate in politics and also in the decision-making process. They feel that we are too young and very inexperienced. We cannot man the positions of leadership and everything. So generally, it's a very big problem in African politics, and I think we need to change that mindset. We need to change that narrative, and we need to change that thinking that young people are young. Actually, it's not about age, but it's about what you bring to the table, right? You could see someone who is young but very intelligent and brings a lot of bright policies, a lot of good policies into the table and everything. So I think we need to start sort of giving young people the chance to come on board, to contribute to the decision-making table, to bring policies on board, to make sure that we have an inclusive governance.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mendy, for that. You've rightly mentioned that it's good for youths to be involved in governance, which we all know that is very important for every society to move smoothly. The other question that we have on the table is that, what are some of the examples that you think will lead to a successful, good governance that will make every government successful when it comes to democracy and so on? Because we know the youth should be involved, yes. But what are the steps that government should put in place to achieve this?
Well, I think one of the steps that government can put in place is to make sure that they make laws and rules that sort of favor and encourage the participation of young people in our society to consolidate democracy, right? If you look at today in politics around the world, young people are driving the change. Let's take, for example, the Gambia into context. We used to live in a dictatorship for over 22 years. And under that dictatorship, our rights were suppressed. We didn't have freedom of speech. The culture of silence was very predominant. You don't have to speak truth to power. But Gambians were fed up with the system of under Jammeh, and they were tired of the system. And in 2016, that was a glimpse of hope that young people truly participated, and they said, look, hey, we are tired about the dictatorship. We want democracy. We want a system that works not just for us, but also for the future generation, because democracy needs to be progressive, right? Society needs to be progressive, not just the present day generation, but the future generation. So they are fed up with the system of Jammeh, and they brought in democracy. So young people, if you look at that transition, they were the leading voice. You talk about youth activism, you talk about digital activism and everything, civil society. Young people are the leading voice and the vanguard voice in these processes. And I think it's very important that we now start to sort of include the young people. I give you one typical example. In 2011, 2011, the famous Arab Spring, they call it the Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia, when a young boy by the name Mohamed Bouazizi, who graduated from the university with very outstanding grades, could not have a job and was selling fruits in the streets of Tunisia. And he was molested by a government officials at that time, and it was under a very repressive government, under the system of Ben Ali. Ben Ali was the then president. But Mohamed Bouazizi was molested by the government official because he had no job, he was a fruit seller, and he was molested. And that led a revolution in Tunisia, and they call it the Arab Spring. He set himself ablaze, set himself on fire, and that sparked a revolution in Tunisia. And 1 year later, the president Ben Ali had to resign. He was forcefully resigned, and then he left government. And the next year, the following year, they had an election, democratic election. So I feel young people can really drive change in society if they are giving the agency, if they're giving the platform, if they are giving if the laws are in place, the policies are in place to make sure that their participation is enhanced. I think young people can really drive change in modern society. And 2016 was one of the examples. And even in our transitional justice processes, in our democratization process, I think young people are leading the center stage for governance and democracy to be sustained and consolidated.
Thank you, Mr. Mendy. Indeed, young people are the leading voice in every nation that we see. In your view, Mr. Mendy, what is the role, or what role do you think that the local youth council or parliaments play in making governance more accessible to young people? Are they effective, or do you think they bring meaningful change in democracy?
Yes, local governments, in principle, are very important in a democracy, right? If you look at society and government is sort of stratified, right? You have the central government, which is more or less like the cabinet, and the president and his ministers. You have the National Assembly, you have the judiciary, and you have the local government. So the local government is more. I think the whole idea of local government is more or less like it's more accessible to the people. It's more closer to the people, whereby the local people can sort of channel their complaints through the local government. So the local government is more or less created for the people to solve local problems, to solve local issues within that jurisdiction. And I think their role is very important because the idea is that the central government is sort of far away from the people, from the citizens. So the local government sort of like act on behalf of the central government to address the problems of the local people. And I think their role is important in governance. So to talk about how effective they are, especially in Gambia, to me, in my own perspective, I don't think they're effective to a certain degree. If you look at so many factors, they're really not doing a very great job in terms of addressing local problems. You go to the Brikama market during rainy season, it's unbearable. It's very filthy, and everything. So I feel local governments are very important. They are key drivers to addressing local problems in various constituencies. And I think the participation of young people in local governance processes is very important. They need to start to make laws and also to mainstream youth policies into the national development agenda so that the voices of young people are included in the governance process. The aspirations of young people are included and everything. So local government sort of addresses local concerns, local problems in our society, and also bringing young people on board. And I think their participation in governance is really very key and important.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mendy. Sorry for taking all your time. Another question again for you. What are the potential risks and rewards of youth-led government in fragile or emerging democracies?
So that's a very important question. Today, when we talk about democracy, democracy is sort of under threat. A lot of factors is leading to it's fading away. Now, recently we saw in Burkina Faso there was a coup d'etat. In Mali there was a coup d'etat. So democracy is really under threat, And I think right now we need to start sort of consolidating democracy and having the voices of young people well represented in governance processes. And I think one of the rewards is that when young people are included in governance processes, they bring more vibrant ideas into the table, they bring vision into the table, they bring agency into the table. And I think government should sort of capitalize on the youth board. Today, if you talk about Africa, Africa has one of the youngest populations in the world. About 60, 61, 62% of the African population is merely young. And I think if governments should leverage on the youth bulge, the youth population, and I think that will really pay dividend to consolidating democracy in our society. So I think, to me, one of the rewards of government to making sure that they include young people is that it's sort of they bring more ideas, vibrant ideas into the table, dynamic ideas and visionary ideas, so that the society is progressive and everything. But the challenge is that sometimes these political elites, actors, sort of use young people at their own disadvantage. And I think we sort of need to not allow that in our modern society. Today, if we talk about politics, young people during elections are at the forefront in terms of campaigns and everything. But if you look at the internal party system, young people are not that much very included. So I think politicians are just using young people for political gain. In terms of campaign, young people are at the forefront, calling out for people to come and attend rallies and everything. But in terms of position sharing, young people are sidelined. And I think that should not happen in modern day democracy.
Indeed, the democracy is under threat, like you mentioned, and we need more vibrant ideas that should be put in place by government. Welcome, Mr. Diba. I have a question for you, Mr. Diba. How can government ensure that the initiative they put in place are truly benefiting young people and not just lip services like Mr. Mendy mentioned, that using people during campaign and that's all? So how do you think these issues can be tackled and not just mere words? Can you hear me, Mr. Diba? Mr. Mendy, can you answer to that question? I think we lost Mr. Diba again.
Sorry about that. Can you repeat your question?
Okay. How can government ensure that their initiatives are truly benefiting to young people and not just lip services like you mentioned? Normally in campaign, they will give empty promises. At the end of the day, they are not fulfilling this. What are some of the ways you think that they can truly achieve this?
Well, I think it's high time that government needs to sort of listen to the voices of young people calling for change in society, calling for youth inclusion in governance. Young people should not be used for political gains, right? Like I said, during elections and campaigns, but they should be part of the decision-making table, right? We cannot, it's high time that we leverage on the youth population, like I said, so that we achieve what our aspirations of a good society is. So government really derive power from the people, derive legitimacy from the people, and without the people, there would be no government. During the Age of Enlightenment in France at that time, there was a social contract, right? The social contract is just an idea that it's an agreement between the governed who are the citizens, and the governors who are the sort of like the state and the political elites. So I think this agreement must be honored, right? When we vote you into office, you have to make sure that our aspirations, our voices are represented in the decision-making table, and not just mere lip services, right? Politicians come to the television, they go to campaigns, rallies, and just they speak and they make promises that they cannot fulfill. So I think right now we need politicians who uphold values and virtues of integrity. You have to you have to be held accountable. And I think that's where young people can actually come in. If a politician comes to your constituency or your village and makes a promise, you have to hold that politician accountable, right? So you have to make sure that you are on top of issues to make sure that that politicians delivers, right? We cannot just sit in our comfort zones and just expect things to work in our ways. And I think young people now really need to hold their political leaders accountable and to making sure that there is open governance. Whatever the government is doing, let the citizens see it. Whatever the government is doing, whatever policies they make, let the people hold them accountable. Recently, we've seen a youth-led protest in Kenya. They call it the Gen Z protest in Kenya. Young people are really taking up spaces to speak truth to power, and holding government accountable to say, hey, look, we don't want this policy because it does not reflect the aspirations of a good society. Because we voted in, and we have the right to say whatever we want in office. So I think if young people champion these just causes in society, definitely we are going to have a very good and flourishing democratic state.
Indeed, the government should not just use young people for their political gains, but to involve them in decision making, which we all know that is very crucial. And without people, there will be no government, which we all know. And that's a very beautiful submission, Mr. Mende. And over to my final question. Do you think that because the government used these young people for their political gains, this is one factor that is delaying or stopping youth from participating in politics? Or
say that again. I can't. There was a network break. I didn't hear you well.
Hello, Mr. Mendy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you repeat your question?
Yes. Do you think that the fact that the government is using youths for political gains, that's one of the reasons why we are lacking behind or not willing to participate in any governance activities or politics?
Well, I think now the young people need to be enlightened. In as much as that we want change, in as much as we want the government to work, I think we need to be enlightened. We need to be sort of sensitized. We should not allow any politician to sort of brainwash us, right? We need to be on top of issues, like I said. We need to be aware of what is going on in our society today. Many young people, they sit in their comfort zones and they complain about government is failing, but what are they bringing to the table? How are they developing themselves to making sure that today, let's forget about the present generation. Let's look at the future generation. In the next 25, 30, 40 years, these old folks in government are not going to be available. So that means there is going to be a responsibility placed on this present generation. So how are you going to rule or to govern when you don't have skills and all of that? So I think it's important that young people now need to start to develop their skills for the next government, for the next generation, because society is transitional. It moves, right? So we need to be on top of issues and to make sure that we sort of enlighten ourselves, develop ourselves in terms of skill, in terms of expertise, in terms of knowledge, so that when the current crop of leadership is not around, then the young generation can take up leadership and everything. And we should not allow anyone to fool us. We should be agents of change. We should be very well empowered with knowledge, so that any politician that comes to us and says that he wants to build something in our constituency, we will question that politician. And I think it's high time that young people sort of start engaging in skills development, in mentorship, right? In education, because education it's important, right? It's important so that these politicians will not fool us, will not sort of brainwash us into believing their false promises and everything.
Indeed, as young people, we have to involve in skills and mentoring, some programs that will help us know what true governance is and not just rely on these politicians and what they will tell us. Mr. Mendy, over to the next question. What are the challenges that young leaders face in their attempt to access influence on politics or political systems?
I think, like I said, one of the challenges in my initial statement is their age. Politicians sort of use age to sort of say that young people cannot participate in politics because they are very inexperienced, right? And also, I think one of the challenges to young people face is lack of platforms, right? Lack of laws, platforms in place that sort of encourage young people to participate in politics, right? Today, if you talk about youth employment, youth employment is on the rise because most young people are not employed, and it's really a very big concern. Having a population of young people who are not employed could have social consequences. A lot of them will go into drug abuse. Like recently, we have seen the issue of kush in our society, and that is a threat to democracy, because when there is no employment, it has a direct link to insecurity, and insecurity also affects democracy. So I think the 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 increase in youth employment has social consequences. A lot of young people will go into drug abuse, right? A lot of young people will go into crimes. A lot of young people will go into robbery, and that is a threat to democracy. I think if government sort of invest in the young people to make sure that there are jobs available in the market after graduation, and I think if that is available, then I think we will have a very flourishing democracy. Today, recently, I read a post that over 60 Gambians who are migrating through the Mediterranean Sea died in the sea. That's a very big concern for governments, especially for the government of Gambia. And I think they really need to put that in place, because we cannot have a young population dying in the oceans, dying in the seas, in the high seas. It's very troubling, and it's sort of worrisome. I think if there is employment, young people really drive change in our society. And also laws. Government needs to start to mainstream youth policies into the national development agenda, to making sure that there are ministries working, the Ministry of Youth working, the National Youth Council, so that young people can channel their concerns and government address them. In Africa, most of the times, government in Africa seem to neglect young people, right? Young people and the women in decision making. And if you look at during elections, young people and women are the drivers of elections. They vote more during elections. So I think when we start to bring them to the table, really we are going to reap so many dividends and everything. So to me, I think some of the challenges that young people face in governance, one of them is age, that politicians leverage on. Is too young. Today, imagine, for example, if you graduate from the University of the Gambia, and you are pretty young and you apply for a job, sometimes they don't consider you, right? They think you are bringing fresh ideas, this job insecurity, which is not good for democracy. And I think young people should be allowed to participate in governance and not used as political tools for political gains, right? We should participate in terms of elections. When we go out to call on people, they should be included. Even within internal parties, young people should be given positions in political parties, right? There should be a party quota whereby young people participate in the internal politics of the political parties. And not just the political party, but also at the national level, local governments. Young people must participate in local governance and also at the central level.
Thank you, Mr. Mendy. What are some of the ways or strategies that you think can be used to employ the youth in governance and to break the political divides that we already have? What are some of the ways that can be put in place?
So like I said, if platforms are created, youth mentorship are created, right, to teach young people about governance, I think it will sort of empower young people about what happens in the central government, what happens, what are the processes, right? I think if governments will leverage on mentorship to make sure that young people are aware of what happens in governance, I think that's important. And education too is very important, right? Government need to leverage on education. Today, education drives society. That is why education is important. That is why the late Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations General Assembly, said, education is liberating. Information is powerful, right? And even Nelson Mandela argued that education is important. So I think if government should leverage and take advantage of the youth population to mentor them about leadership, to mentor them about democracy and governance, to mentor them about what happens, decision making and policy making, I think young people really drive change in our modern politics. And I think it's very key. Young people should be provided with all of these platforms so that they speak their mind. Also to empower civil society, because civil society is very important, and young people mainly to target institutions that have young people, right? And all of that, and not just within the formal sector, but also the informal sector. How do we empower the young average Gambian in Kiang? How do we empower that youth in Kiang? How do we make sure that he has access to healthcare systems? How do we ensure that he has access to information? How do we ensure that he has access to schools, good schools and education? And I think that's important. We have to look at both the formal sector and the informal sector. The informal sector, I mean by those who are skilled in vocation. How do government also empower them in terms of entrepreneurship? I think these are all very good variables in terms of democratic progress and accountability.
Right, Mr. Mendy. So do you think the government is not doing enough when it comes to that?
Well, it's a very subjective question. To me, I think government is not doing much. And I think today, if you look at social media and a lot of complaints, I think the government is not really doing much. If you look at the transition in 2016, there were a lot of promises, right? The security sector reform, the transitional justice. Today, one of the contentious issues in Gambian politics today is about the constitution, the draft constitution. A lot of young people are calling out for government to sort of make a constitution, pass a law that is reflective of the aspirations of young people, and that is not done. And I think that is due to lack of political leadership and lack of political will from the side of the government. And I think that's really, it's a clarion call. Young people are calling for change. They are pushing for change. You go to Kenya, young people are pushing for change because of the burgeoning youth unemployment and everything. So I think that if government could leverage on that, could really make a way for democratic consolidation.
Do you think that that will be achievable? Let's take the Gambia, for example. Do you think there's a way government can place policies aside from education in order to achieve this? Because what the Gambian think is that democracy is about politics. You hear people say democracy is politics, is that no, but democracy is far from that. To me, democracy is equality. And I would like to hear from you, and I know the audience, they would love to listen from the thoughtful words that you're going to say. Someone who is an expert in the field of democracy and diplomacy. We would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the government of the Gambia is trying to some extent, but there's still room for improvement. And not just the government of the Gambia, but by extension, governments in Africa. There's a lot of youth outcry. A lot of things are gone wrong. I think government is not visionary. We need to start thinking about vision, right? Not just looking beyond the present generation. In the next 10, 20, 25, 30 years to come, how do we ensure that we build a society for our unborn children and our unborn generation? So I think if government starts to leverage on the youth empowerment, on youth mentorship and education, I think we can really and achieve democratic consolidation. Today, take for example, the roads that we are driving on. In the next 25, 30 years, the population is going to increase. There is growing population, and that road is not going to accommodate many Gambians. A lot of Gambians today, you and I, Teres, all of us want cars, right? All of us want to buy cars. Are those cars going to fit in our roads in the next 25, 30 years to come? So I think government needs to be visionary to making sure that roads are expanded, to making sure that there are houses, right? To making sure that there are policies in place that does not target the present generation, but also the future generation. So I think progressive leadership and visionary leadership is very important, especially in a democracy. And that's one of the, I think, in my view, one of the tools that Western societies have really leveraged on, right? They plan vision, they plan for the next generation, not just for the present generation. And I think if government leverages on that, we could really consolidate democracy.
The government will only become, a visionary and start participating if we move out from our comfort zone and not confine just in the classroom and say we are leaders, we are that, without involving them, without pushing the government. Let's take, for example, the NAWEC issue, relating it to democracy. People will sit at home and make memes on that and talk, NAWEC is not doing this. But are we out there to make sure this is in place? Because when we talk about democracy, it's not like government we have to beg government. This is something that they have to do. We don't have to go like the host said. We don't have to go and say, Sarahangiriala, give us this. No, it's something that is being mandated on them. Now to you, Mr. Mendy, do you think this is something that we, the leaders we can just get up and say, let's fix this and not wait for the government. How can we push them to achieve this?
So you see, politics and democracy is not like a privilege. Back then in Gambia, when the government officials sort of built, it's your right to development, it's your right to access education, it's your right because you're paying taxes, right? And those taxes are used for your own gain. Today in Africa and even in Gambia, when politicians come to your community and they build a borehole, you sort of like thank them, you sort of praise them. I mean, it's your right to access clean water. You don't have to thank any politician about it because you are paying taxes and you voted them into office to do their job. That's their job. You are right. I think young people now really need to come out from their comfort zones, right? They really need to step up to hold governments accountable. You made these promises so year, but we have tracked the progress and we've not made anything. Can you please sort of fulfill your promises so that we have these things in place? It's important. I think young people now really needs to come out from their comfort zones and hold governments accountable. I mean, speak your mind. We live in a democracy, but speaking your mind does not mean you need to do it beyond the laws. You have to be very constructive about it, right? When I see young people speaking and everything, sometimes you need to be constructive. There's a way that you speak with constructiveness, and the politicians listen. So I think it's high time that young people come out from their comfort zones and hold government accountable. Don't just sit in your comfort zone and complain. You will complain till the rest of your life. Nothing is going to change if you don't take an action, right? Because with action, it drives change, right? You see, politicians are like horses, right? If you want the horse to move faster, what do you do with it? You beat it, right?
You beat it, right?
Yes. So you beat it so it moves faster. So that is accountability. You hold government accountable. You tell government, hey, look, you're not the progress on this project is very slow. Can you expedite it? Then government will, because government listen to the voices of people. If you don't speak, government will not listen, right? It's like a typical example in your household. If you want something and you don't ask your parents, you will not have that thing. So governments are like that. You have to speak and they will hear your voice and they will act, because action is very important in politics. You have to be able to speak. Hello.
Hello, Andrew. Great. I think great responses there. I think our listeners are so much inspired what you're saying, and I think some of us are taking so much notes right now because of the informative things that you are sharing. You know, I think what I would say to all our audience, why not? If you have, things that you want to tell Andrew, why not utilize the comment section and just share with Andrew. Andrew would love to hear those things, see those things, because he is really doing well in responding to the questions that are basically posted to him. I think this is great. Ace, what are your thoughts?
Jacob, I am so loaded, honestly, and I'm sure everyone connecting with us right now, they have a pile of notes. They've taken a lot of notes. Mr. Andrew Mendy have really dived in so well into our discussions today, and I am so excited that I didn't get to miss this. And I'm sure everyone seated there is so excited, and I'm so happy that he brought in light into so many things that are directly affecting us. That every one of us right on this call is affected in one way or the other. A young person, a parent, a leader, we are all participants in all this, and we are all included. So I just want to just bring up some of the things that Andrew highlighted that really stood out for me, some of the nuggets that I was able to actually capture. He actually taught us and reminded us that young people are the ones that should drive the government. And also, the government should serve the interests of the people, and we should actively participate as individuals. We should not just sit back there and just complain in our small corners and just probably do side talks with our friends and say, this is what is happening. Nawek, they will not bring the light, this, that, and just complain and not just do anything, internet issues. There's so many things going on, but we should actively participate. We should get involved and not just sit in our tight corners. And this is where our mindset should change as young people, and not always believe that, okay, probably we're too young. Sometimes it's not just the leaders, but sometimes we're also afraid to even go in for positions because we feel that we don't have anything to offer. But hey, Andrew just reminded us that we have ideas, we have visions, and this is what we need, because we are supposed to, the government should actually be visionary. He pointed out that so clearly. The government should make sure they're actually thinking about in the next 30 years, in the next 20 years, and not just today. And in making sure that you're actually making policies for the next 30 and 20 years, you should involve those who will be there, those who will be ruling, those who will be leading, and not just do it by yourself. But it all starts with you there connecting with us. Are you studying? Are you getting yourself educated? Are you actually getting the mentorship? Are you getting the skills? Because we don't want you to be in that position and you don't know what to do. You should be able to know, to bring something to the table. And in order for you to do that, you should study, you should learn, you should get the skills. It's not just going into the classroom, but informal skills as well. There are young people that are really doing extremely well in these vocational skills. And we see them, they're really going far, they're doing well, male and female. But what are you doing in your own corner?
Indeed. Vision is integral. Vision, should drive leadership in Africa, and that is quite key. And being a of the youth mentorship, I have gotten to learn, especially from Legacy Beyond the Grave, that is Influence 2, we call it, where the guy who forwarded the book, I believe, said something about the cathedral mentality, cathedral mentality. And I guess in Africa, that's the kind of mentality we are supposed to build as young people, as leaders, that we don't just build an Africa for today, we build an Africa for the next generation. So it is quite key that you and I put this at the back of our mind, that in everything that we are doing, everything that we are building, we need to build for the future. And that is key, especially when it comes to youth participation in politics or in governance. That is quite key. So thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. The things that you've shared are so profound, and I cannot wait to revisit my notes after this session and to rewatch this event, because again, you really shared some profound thoughts with us. And I guess as young people, Mr. Andrew has called on to get on our feet, to be involved. And I love it when he said, why not, when your leaders come into your constituency and say something or bring things there, why not? You need to follow them up. You need to ask questions. It's not wrong to ask questions, right? But sometimes we feel like, oh, when I ask him that question, I ask her that question, see, he will be mad with me, he will be mad with me, he may stress me. Oh man, it's your role and responsibility to ask questions. And of course, ask relevant questions that triggers that person's mind, that triggers that person's thinking faculty, because that is important. You cannot just afford to settle for what is not the best. Always ask the right questions, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to governance, because you elected them there. And it doesn't matter whether the person is appointed, elected, it's all the same. As long as they are on top there leading you, as long as they are steering the affairs of your constituency, of your nation, they should be questioned. They should be asked. So thank you so much. I've really learned a lot from you, Mr. Andrew. And man, I can't wait for subsequent sessions to just be schooled somehow. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful to you, X.
So, Jacob, I'm sure Mr. Andrew will spare us a couple of minutes. I'm sure some of those connected with us, they have questions that they will want Andrew to answer. So you can just send in your questions right on the comment section, and we'll get Andrew to answer it. All those questions you've been sitting on, Andrew is right here. He's here and available to answer all of them. And I'm sure you took a lot of notes while he was speaking. I must say, this young man is loaded.
Indeed, Mr. Andrew did justice to this conversation. You know, so much has been shared. So let's look at some couple of comments that we've received so far as we await the questions. So okay, someone is saying here, and that is Simon. He said, youths should be active participants in democracy and governance. When you think about the future of a nation, guess who is to be talked about? Young people, absolutely. And you know, our speaker has reiterated this over and over. So young people at the forefront. This is key. And oh man, let me see. Someone is saying an exciting thing here. With action, that is sustainable. With action, change is driven. That was profound. Oh man, that is something you said, Mr. Andrew. That with action, change is driven, and this is great. Let's see. Ajifatu is saying something here that is beautiful. Aji said, "My takeaway: to have a great country with a strong democratic system, we need strong and stable laws, policies, regulations, and most importantly, the involvement of the young people." So this just tells you and I that our audience are really following, they are really taking notes. So you've shared so much on this platform. To you, Ace.
Jacob, to just go further, Daniel Jiba also is commenting and saying that, I believe the youths should participate in the acts of governance. The old or elderly are the active persons in politics and therefore happens to be at the top of political affairs. So young people, this is a wake-up call to you all. It's a wake-up call to every one of us right here on this call to actively participate. But remember, you need skills. You cannot just go there. Andrew specifically said you should be constructive in the speeches that you give. You can't just go there and say something that probably might not really be sensible to the politicians or to the individuals you're speaking to. But if you have the skills, if you have the knowledge, you have everything that is required. When you speak, people listen to you. No matter how small you are, no matter how tiny you are, no matter how short you are, your color, when you speak something that they can actually pick sense from, they will get to listen to you. So Daniel also goes further to actually buttress this to us as young people. And they're actually sending a lot of reactions to you, Andrew, and saying they're so proud of you and they've really learned a lot. And Sena Bujata also goes to say, we need to give promises we can fulfill as good leaders. So Seinabu, if the elderly are not able to do that, let it start from you and your peers. Make sure at school when you give promises, because I can vividly remember, and I'm sure that's still the trend that is going on. When it comes to elections for probably school prefects, they will stand there during the campaign period and give a lot of promises. But at the end of the day, we don't fulfill these promises. So let's start from there at our schools, at our homes. As we lead our siblings, we make promises to them that we can fulfill, so that when we go out there and occupy positions, national positions, international positions, we'll actually be able to fulfill all the promises that we've made and be able to hold people accountable, because you can't hold someone accountable when you yourself are not doing what is expected of you. Jacob, you want to say something?
Yes. So thank you. We have a question, and this question is from Seinabu. Seinabu said, "How can diplomacy and international relations be leveraged to promote and support democracy in regions where democratic processes are fragile or under threat?" And I guess this is for our Honorable Andrew.
Thank you so much, Jacob and Ace. Senabu, thank you for the question. I think it's a very important question. Today, we live in a global society. In the words of Marshall McLuhan, the world is now a global village and it's very well interconnected. The interconnectedness we have today far outweighs what we used to have in the past. And I think if governments can leverage on international community and also the United Nations and its organs and its agencies, definitely it could pay dividend to the national development drive. I think also it depends on the power of our negotiation skills, right? With our foreign embassies. I think we really need to have people with vision and not just to negotiate policies that will benefit them, but also policies that will benefit the entire country. It depends on the agency and the power of our negotiation because the international system, as most people argue, is characterized by self-interest, right? We really need to harness on that to make sure that we have people who are vision driven, people who are well articulate, and people who have the interests of the people at heart to sort of negotiate laws and policies within the international domain that will benefit the entire citizens of the Gambia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew, for responding to that question. And I think Senabu would appreciate your response to that. So, Mr. Andrew, now that we've come to the end, almost today's panel is the end to this panel, I want to give you the opportunity. What is your final message?
Thank you so much. I first of all want to thank Coaches of Influence Foundation. I mean, I am an alumni. I'm a product of CYF, and I remember back then. I think it was in 2019 when we started our mentorship journey with the likes of Jacob, Bernadette, and then everything. So I just want to thank, because who I am today, really, Coaches of Influence Foundation have contributed a lot, and they've shown me the way. They've given me the right skills to navigate the complexities of the world, and everything. So I'm really grateful and very well indebted to CYF. And also to Dr. Margaret and also our wonderful moderators, and also the host and the co-host, Isigal and Jacob. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to share my thoughts and knowledge on this very important occasion, the International Day of Democracy, to recognize democratic principles in our modern politics, to ensure that we drive democracy, we consolidate democracy in a modern society. So I think one of the important thing I would say to young people is that whether or not you think that politics is important, politics is definitely important. Politics is a matter of life and death, right? If you think that politics is not going to affect you in the present generation, but it's going to affect your future, it's going to affect your children in the future if you don't take an action. It's important because politicians make laws on our behalf, and if laws are bad in a society, that society is doomed for failure. And I think it's important that we elect people who are visionary to make sure that they make laws that does not reflect the present generation, but also the future generation. I think it's very important that young people take politics very seriously and not just sit on the comfort zone and feeling very lackadaisical, very lazy about politics. Say that, well, it's not my business. That's what young people say. It's not my business. Whatever they want to do, they do. But it has future consequences on your children. And I think we need to hold government accountable and make sure that we elect people that are visionary. And also, what I would want to say to young people is that start developing your skills through mentorship. Like Coaches of Influence Foundation is here for the young people. Develop your expertise because you want to bring something to the table. When you're called upon to bring something, what are you going to bring to the table? When you lack expertise, you lack mentorship, you lack the training, the required skills, that is really going to hamper your development and your chances to contest and also to participate in governance. It's important today, as we remember and commemorate International Day of Democracy, let us remember the fundamental principles that democracy is deeply rooted on: accountability, transparency, participation, open governance, right? So it's very important. Let us work towards consolidating our democracy. That is the whole idea of the International Day of Democracy, right? Let us work towards consolidating it. Let us work towards bringing everyone on board. No idea is foolish. Every idea is important, right? Let's just work because in our diversity we find strength. So let us not despise anyone. Both people in the formal sector, both people in the informal sector, the entrepreneurs are very important. Everybody is a stakeholder in politics and society. Everybody has a stake. There's a stake in politics. So if you feel that politics is not going to affect you, but it's going to affect the future generation. Today, we talk about inflation. Who are the people that make policies that regulate inflation in our society? It's the politicians. So if you don't elect someone who is visionary and someone who is educated and someone who has the required skills and expertise, he's going to make bad laws that is going to affect you, not just you, but your children. So it's important to start thinking along these lines to make sure that we hold leaders accountable. We elect people that have the required skills, required expertise to take government forward. And on this day, on this auspicious day, I wish you all the best. Let us keep striving for open governance. Let us keep striving for accountability, transparency. Let us hold government accountable. Let us, because you want the government to move and you want government to listen. You have to take an action before they listen, right? It's like when you take a horse to the farm, right? To farm. If you want the horse to be faster, what do you do with it? You beat it, you hit it, it moves faster. So that's the relationship between the people and the government. Let us hold them accountable. And I thank you all so much for this special invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Andrew Mendy. We're so honored and so excited to have you on this Diplomatic Talk series and the celebration of International Democracy Day. And I must say, this is actually home to you. And the comment section is actually really on fire right now. They're all saying they're so proud of you. They're happy that you're here. And they've learned a lot. And I must say, I have a lot of notes right here in front of me. I don't think I'll be able to finish it just going through it once. I have to go through it several times. And it's really important that we actually hear from experts in democracy to share these things with us so that we get to understand, we get to learn, we get to wake up as well as young people. So Jacob, it has really been exciting. And I must say, I don't want the whole event to end, but we will have to end it, unfortunately. We'll have to draw the curtains. But I just want you to just continue to extend our gratitude to Andrew and to our listeners out there who are logged into the different social media platforms. We see you all from different nations, from different parts of the Gambia, young people in Coaches of Influence Foundation. We see that you have your friends here. You've invited your colleagues, your relatives. And you don't just want to learn alone, but you invite everyone around you. So this is just one of the series. Imagine the others that will be coming. You don't want to miss them. More reason why you should continue to follow us on our social media sites. Today should not be the last day. Today should not be the last time. Make sure to follow us, make sure to like, and you will get to see all the other exciting series that will be brought to you on different issues that are affecting you, affecting your families in one way or the other. Over to you, Jacob.
Wow, thank you so much, Ace. Man, it's really been a great time, right? These few hours that we been on this call, I think a whole lot of us have been inspired, have been informed. Something has been triggered. And just like I promised when we started this event, I said, one thing I can assure you that you're going to need a midwife, right? So, because so much has come to us today. And again, just to summarize what Andrew said, get involved as a young person. Get involved. Don't just sit in that corner, get involved. And you cannot continue to just say, politics is dirty, right? If it is dirty, get in it and make it clean, right? Be the cleaner, right? So it's a call for each and every one of us to get into it, because you cannot just allow people to make decisions on your behalf. And like Pilo will say, we need to be part of the dinner table, right? It is key, and this is time for each and every one of us. So thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. We are so much grateful for all of the things that you've shared with us. And thank you, Dr. Margaret. Thank you, Dr. Stan. Thank you to the executive board and all the board members and just the senior leadership. Thank you for and the committee, that put this whole event together. Thank you. We are so much grateful for all of the work, all of the efforts, the sacrifice that you put in this. And to our moderators, our panelists, thank you so much. Because of you, we are at where we are right now. So thank you so much. We are grateful. So I'm going to call on our, Honorable VP, Vice President of Coaches of Influence Foundation, to give the closing remark. But before he comes on, I want us to briefly look at some of the exciting announcements that we have for you, and that is Abigail will help to take us through some of those beautiful announcements that we have for you, because something is about to happen, and I can't wait to hear from Ace what that thing is before we finally hear from Vice President, Coaches of Influence Foundation. Go ahead.
Mentorship 2025 is coming up. How many of you are excited about this? I'm sure you've told your friends, I am in Coaches of Influence Foundation. And some of them were like, how can we join Coaches of Influence Foundation? This is the right time. And mentorship applications 2025 will actually open on October 1st. So make sure you inform your friends, inform your family members, your siblings. I'm sure they've been asking you, they've been like, why is it that everything about you have changed now? I also want you to show them the way, to actually bring them to the right path so that they can also be questioned out there by other people. And the other exciting one is TGI Moon. How many of you are excited about TGI Moon? Send in your reactions, send in the comment section. I'm sure you're so excited. This is one event that I am so excited about every time that it's being hosted by Coaches United Nations Simulation. And one thing I will say is, if you miss any event, make sure you don't miss TGI Moon 2024. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be like, you'll find yourself in United Nations Simulation. So you know that feeling that you will actually have when you are there. So make sure you tell your friends, tell your family members, start now. Make sure you prepare yourself. It's already here, and we are already prepared. It's going to be November 7th, 8th, and 9th. So watch out for more details. More reason why you should be connected with us on our social media handles, because you can't say, okay, you want to attend events and you're not connected on the handles to actually get details. So connect with us and you will get every detail that you need. Jacob, are you excited about TGI Moon 2024? Because I cannot wait already. I think I should start packing my bags today.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for November, right? So, man, if you are here and you've not yet registered for, applied for the, registered rather for the TGI Moon, why not? Visit our cons website. It's just mycons.org, or you can just look at the link, basically the instructions at the bottom of the screen to, basically apply, right? And of course, you can visit all our social media platforms. The information is on the screen, so you can be part of this great event that is happening in November. So you cannot afford to miss this, right? Because you don't want to be told. All right. So to you, Ace, I think now we're going to call on our Honorable VP, Joy, to just give the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jacob. Thank you, Honorable Abigail, and thank you, Dr. Margaret, and the entire Coaches of Influence Board of Directors. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this remarkable celebration of the International Day of Democracy, we reflect on our theme, which says the pathway to democracy, governance for, to, and by the youth. Today, we have explored the essential role of young people in shaping the future of democracy, especially here in Africa, where the voices of youth must ring louder, clearer, and more determined now than ever before. Democracy, at its core, is not just a system of governance, but it's a promise that every individual, regardless of background, culture, or religion, has the power to shape their future. But the promise can never be a reality if we, the youth, fail to rise to this occasion. As Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, "It is in our hands, the youth, to make a better world for all who live in it." Indeed, the mantle of leadership is in our hands, and the time to act is right now. In many African nations, the youth make up the majority of the population, yet our participation in governance remains minimal. This must change. We need to transition from being mere beneficiaries of democracy to becoming the architect of it. The youth must lead the change to restructure the democratic system, making them more inclusive, transparent, and equitable. As Kofi Annan wisely stated, that young people should be at the forefront of global change and innovation. Empowered, they can be key agents for development and peace. So therefore, let us not wait for opportunities to be handed over to us. Instead, let us create these opportunities. Let us demand the seat at decision-making tables. And when those seats are not available, we must rise up and build our own seats or own tables. Democracy, after all, is not a gift from the older generation to the younger. It is our shared responsibility. Governance for the youth should be governance by the youth. We are the heartbeat of our nations, the pulse that can breathe new life in the political and democratic landscape of Africa and the globe at large. The generation that destroys the environment is not the generation that pays the price. That is the problem. So, and the same applies to democracy. If we allow it to wither, it is the youth who will pay the price. And so, I urge young people watching me this afternoon, we must be vigilant, we must be proactive, and to be courageous. We must cultivate a democracy that speaks to our needs, that reflects our aspirations, and that carries our hopes for a brighter and more sustainable Africa. To every young person watching and listening to my voice this very hour, we are not just future leaders, we are present-day influencers. So therefore, let us seize every opportunity to lead. Let us challenge the status quo and to rebuild our systems. Let this be our legacy that will redefine governance for our generation and also generations to come. Too often, young voices are marginalized and leadership opportunities are monopolized by the few. But we must break these barriers, knowing that leadership is not confined to titles. Leadership is about vision. Leadership is about courage. And finally, leadership is responsibility. As Nelson Mandela, who is a public figure, once said, it always seems impossible until it is done. So therefore, we must believe in the possibilities of transforming our democratic systems, ensuring that these systems reflect the true aspirations of people, especially the young. The road to restoring our democratic institutions will definitely not be easy. We will face challenges, we will face oppositions and doubts. But as the African proverb goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So therefore, together with the youth, have the collective power to reform and restructure our political landscape and demand leadership that are ethical, transparent, and transformative to the needs of every citizen. In closing, I urge every young person here in the Gambia and beyond to remember the words from the former UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, who said, "The world's young people are the most precious resource we have. We must nurture them with care. We must harness their power for good. Africa's future lies in their hands. So therefore, let us walk boldly along the path to democracy, for governance that is truly by the youth is the governance that will transform our continent. So I will say, if you really want to know more about COIF, just in one line, come to COIF, right? So therefore, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you for creating time to be here with us today, and we love and appreciate you. So let us keep the fire of democracy alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Honorable VP, on that one. Thank you for that remarks. I think one of the things that you've said in that remark is that we have the power to restructure things, and that is important. So you also made a call and said we need to be vigilant and proactive, and as young people, and I guess that is important. And we need to also, kind of push for a democracy that speaks to our needs. And I guess that is quite important. Thank you for these closing remarks. What are your thoughts, Ace, as we end this session today?
Jacob, I will say from the beginning, from our panelists coming down to our VP, one thing have really stood out for me is for us to be active, for us to be vigilant, for us to be proactive. If we don't take anything away from today, let's remember to be active, to participate, to be vigilant, and to be proactive. If we don't remember anything, let's remember these key takeaways.
Indeed. And thank you once again. Thank you so much, Ace, for being a co-host on this important day, that is International Day of Democracy. And again, this is brought to you by Coaches of Influence Foundation under its flagship program, Coaches United Nations Simulation. And like VP alluded to, and you can see on your screen, go to our website to learn more. Visit our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube. Visit all our sites to just get yourself, to familiarize yourself with who we are, because that is quite important. Thank you so much. We are really grateful to have all of you on this call, and you cannot afford to miss TGI Mon. You cannot. So thank you so much. Thank you to all our moderators, to all our board members, our board members, our executive board. Thank you for this great opportunity. It has really been a great time, well spent. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and do a closing prayer to end today's session. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the information that you brought to us today. Thank you, because we know that you've brought us at such a time like this to become agents of change. Thank you, because you let us understand that the whole creation is waiting for our manifestation as young people. I pray that there will be that increased grace to be able to withstand the challenges, to be able to stand the test of time, to be able to take on the baton of leadership in Africa and beyond. I thank you for the wisdom to lead, the wisdom to guide, the wisdom and patience to learn and follow the process. Thank you. And even as we end today's event, we thank you for all of our speakers who have poured out their hearts, who have poured out their selves to our audience. Thank you that you will increase them. And to all our audience, thank you for giving them that patience to stay on this call, to follow to the end. And I give you praise to all of the committee, the leaders, who put together this beautiful event. Thank you. I pray that you will bless them abundantly, that you will grant them their heart desires in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. Amen. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a great time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are really grateful. Thank you so much. Do all have a great day ahead.